Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson in our series of analysis of novels, plays, and poems. We are going to be looking at The River Between, a novel published in 1967 and written by James Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. In the novel, especially in the first publication, the name of the writer is James Ngugi. Then, at last, after the decolonization of African continent, Ngugi Wa Thiong'o changed his name, or rather removed the name James from his names, and then he began to be Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. So that is why in some of the publication of The River Between, you may not see James Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. You will rather see James Ngugi or Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. So today we are going to be looking at the summary of the play, and also we are going to be analyzing the the summary of the novel, and also we are going to be analyzing the chapters in the novel. So let's begin. The novel The River Between is a novel published in 1965, as I said earlier, by Ngugi Wa Thiong'o. The novel tells the story of the separation of two neighboring villages of Kenya caused by differences in faith. And the novel was set in the decade of roughly the early 20th century. And during that period, Kenya was in the colonial era. Kenya we still was under the colonial rule, and the two villages, Kameno and Makuyi, were neighboring villages. In fact, they were friends and related, and the river, Honya River, divided them, or was between them. And the two villages were practicing traditional African system before the coming of the Europeans, before the coming of the colonial masters. So in the advent of the colonial masters, and as you may be aware before, the colonial masters came with their religion, Christianity. And many people were being converted from African traditional religion to Christian religion. And that was also what happened in this novel, The River Between. And you can also relate what happened in this novel to what happened in Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Also, the encroaching Christianity caused a lot of disunity among people who were living peacefully before practicing traditional African religion. So in this novel also, we see the bitterness between the two villages, that is the Makuyi and the Kameno, caused much hatred between the adult of each village. So the story tells about the struggle of a young leader. His name is Waiyaki, and he tried to unite the two villages of Kameno and Makuyi through sacrifice and pains. So the novel is set during the colonial period when the white settlers arrived Kenya, and most of the white people then were living in the place called White Highland, and it was a mountainous area. So what happened between these two villages was that the Makuyi people embraces Christianity, and then the Kameno people were still adherents of their traditional African religion. So the embracing of Christianity has caused a lot of disunity between them, because some of the people some of the people from Makuyi who embraces Christianity do not want to relate with those who are still practicing traditional African religion. So we see that Waiyaki, the only son of Chege, a well-known and respected elder in Kameno, grows up in the time of this tension between Kameno and Makuyi. So many areas of Kenya at this time we are experiencing the influx of the white man, and particularly the white man's religion, Christianity. So the major British figure in the area is Livingstone. The name of the character is Livingstone. He opened a notable school in the place called Syriana. And one of his major converts was called Joshua. So Joshua was one of his major. In fact, Joshua is a religious hardliner who even disowned his own daughter Mutoni when the daughter decided to do the traditional circumcision of women. So he practiced, because Joshua has accepted Christianity. He does not want to have anything to do with traditional practices, cultural practices. So when the daughter Mutoni undergoes traditional African circumcision of female, or what you can call female genital mutilation, he disowned the daughter. He disowned the daughter and does not want to have anything to do with his own daughter again. Though one of his sisters called Uyambura, Uyambura is also a Christian, but does not want the daughter to be disowned. He talked to Joshua, but Joshua does not listen to his sister. Rather, he decided to disown the daughter Mutoni. And the daughter also, he had a lot of challenge after that circumcision. There were a lot of bleeding, and then her head began to deteriorate. At the end, she dies. She was taken to the hospital by Waiyaki, who is regarded as a leader in this novel, and then she died in the hospital. And then Waiyaki is seen as a natural leader with a fire in his eye that makes people obey him. So one day, his father leads him to a solitary place and revealed to him that there was a prophecy from the ancients that one of their child is going to lead a revolution against the whites, and is going to defeat them, and is going to liberate his people from the colonial bondage. And his father Chege believed that Waiyaki is the one to fulfill that prophecy. And we saw that because of that, he sent Waiyaki to the white man's school, the school set up by Livingstone in Syriana. And what he wanted was that his son should learn about the white man's way, so that he can be able to fight them and defeat them. Not that he should become a Christian or begin to practice the Western lifestyle. No, he should go to school, learn about them, and then try to destroy them. And that was what the aim of Chege was before sending Waiyaki to school. And then when Waiyaki arrived school in Syriana, he continued studying there, and at a point he was expelled from the school with other children that their fathers have refused to embrace Christianity. So those students or pupils whose father have refused to embrace Christianity were sent away. Were sent away from the school, and Waiyaki was one of them. So Waiyaki came to Kameno and decided to set up a school for his people. And then he set up a school, and he had a lot of pupils, had a lot of students, and he believed that that is the way to rule and lead his people, to give them education, to make them enlightened. And we saw that after that, when Waiyaki, everybody was praising Waiyaki for for establishing school. However, some of the elders were not comfortable with Waiyaki's lifestyle, because for him going to the white man's school, they see it as betraying the tribal oath that they are going to maintain the sacredness of their culture and tradition. So some of them began to hate Waiyaki, especially one of them called Kamboyi. He even called for meeting and humiliated Waiyaki. And in the process of this, we saw Waiyaki fell in love with a lady called Uyambura, who is the sister of Joshua. Joshua was from Makuyi, who is a fervent Christian, in fact a Christian extremist, who does not want to have anything to do with pagans or those who practice traditional African religion. So Joshua also disowned his sister Uyambura because his sister fell in love with Waiyaki, who is still practicing traditional African religion. And that thing pains Joshua so much. He even want his sister not to have anything to do with Waiyaki, because Waiyaki is a pagan, is a sinner, somebody destined to go to hell. And she, who is Uyambura, a Christian, destined to go to heaven, having something to do with somebody who is a pagan, is not in accordance with his own religious doctrine. So he began to fight his sister Uyambura, and then disown him. And also the people of Kameno also were not comfortable with Waiyaki having an affair with Uyambura. Why? Because both villages are in contention. the Uyambura was from Makuyi village, and Makuyi village have embraced Christianity. Most of them have embraced Christianity. Why the Kameno village is still purely traditional. They are still practicing traditional African religion. So for Waiyaki to go and marry a Christian from a Christian village is an abomination to the people of Kameno. So they too were so concerned, and the fact that Waiyaki have betrayed them for even engaging in a relationship with Uyambura, a Christian from a Christian village. A Christian from a village who has accepted Christianity, who have embraced Christianity, and abandoned their traditional African way of life. So that continues, and Waiyaki had intention of getting married to Uyambura. As a result of that, he knows that he cannot tell his people to follow him to go and do any kind of marriage rite in Makuyi, because they are not in good time. The two villages are not in good time. So he tried as much as possible to reconcile the two villages, but his attempt to hit brick wall, because none of them was ready to have any kind of a compromise, because they believe, even though they fetch water from Honia River, both of them fetch water from Honia River that divides them or in between them. However, now that colonialism has encroached into their villages, and Makuyi people have embraced Christianity, they do not have anything in common again except fetching the water. Even fetching the water, they were fighting many times in the Honia River. So Waiyaki could not reconcile the people. So we saw that Waiyaki and Uyambura pronounced their love for each other, and Joshua tell Uyambura she's no longer his sister. So Waiyaki sees what is happening to his leadership after the Kiyama kick him out. The Kiyama are a group of people who dedicated themselves to preserving the purity of their practices. So, and Waiyaki was even among them, but they kicked him out. In fact, they did not even recognize his leadership again, because he has embraced a Christian lady, and at the same time, his leadership was majorly on education, providing education for his people. And some of his people, and he believed that some of the things that the white men brought are not bad. Why his people were so enraged that everything about the white man is evil, is bad, is against Africanness, African purity. So he was not so accepted by his people again. And then we saw that Waiyaki leave the group and come before the people. He make his people, he make his case, but Kabonyi, who is one of the elders opposing him, deems him a traitor. And when he bring Uyambura forth, Waiyaki cannot deny her, because Kabonyi also confronted him that he had a relationship with Uyambura, and he did not deny it. He did not deny it. He believed, he accepted that yes, he is in love with Uyambura and is ready to marry Uyambura. He did not see anything bad with Christianity, though he is not a Christian. But his people sees what his action. They see his action as a form of betrayal, and they do not accept his leadership again. In fact, many of them feel so bad that Waiyaki have betrayed them. And Kabonyi was also began to lead the people, and his passion was to return the land to them, the land that we are taken from the people by the colonial masters. And in the novel, we saw that the major colonial head we saw in the novel is Livingstone. So the land that the colonial government took away from the people, Kabonyi began to assume leadership, and then he planned to take the land from the colonialists and then return it to the people. So we saw that at the end. So these are some of the major reasons why Waiyaki was taken away. He fell in love with Uyambura, and at the same time, he did not see everything wrong with the colonial leadership. Then at the end, we saw that the people of Waiyaki's tribe, that is the Kameno people, are more loyal to the elders, the elders led by Kabonyi, than to Waiyaki. So the council of the elders punishes Waiyaki and Uyambura, but the nature of the punishment was not revealed till the end of the novel. So we saw that the leadership of Waiyaki came to an end, even though his father Chege believes that he was the chosen one to lead his people into freedom. But we saw that even though he was not even free at the end of the novel, he was disgraced by his people, he was disgraced by Kamboyi, and then he later was not recognized as even a leader again. So that was the end of the novel. And note that at the end of the novel, there was no reconciliation between the Kameno people and the Makui people. The Makui people are still engaging in their Christian lifestyle, the Christianity they have embraced, and also we saw that the Kameno people have continued with their traditional African style. And many of them, especially the elders, were even angry with Waiyaki for even bringing the Western education. Though many of them did not go against the educational system, they are against tradition, the Christianity of the colonialist. But they were not against educating their people in the Western way. But later, when the school was set up in Kameno by Waiyaki, they began to feel that the Waiyaki is now embracing the white man's way by not seeing things wrong with the way they live, with their lifestyle, and even engaging or falling in love with a Christian girl from an enemy's camp, an enemy's village. These are some of the things that made the people fell apart with Waiyaki, and at the end, Kabonyi was more recognized as a leader than Waiyaki. And Waiyaki even regretted his action at the end, in the last chapter of the novel. So, in the next lecture, we are going to be discussing the characters in the novel. We have about 11 characters to discuss, so make sure you also attend that, or you subscribe to the channel to get notified when the video also is uploaded. Thank you and have a blessed day.